So, hi everyone, good to see you. So this week it's all about attachment and detachment. And so today we start with attachment. Certainly often mentioned in like spiritual groups or meditation groups. You hear this word attachment very often, and it's hardly ever really defined or understood actually. Attachment is also known as clinging, very often translated as clinging, and here is based on the Pali word upadana, which means clinging. More literally it means fuel. So attachment is actually fueling or keeping alive. The function of attachment is to keep something alive, is to fuel something. It makes things stay. Whatever we are attached to makes things stay, keeps them alive. So for example, you might be very attached to a certain state of mind or a certain condition around you, a person or your idea of the person. Then why or what would that supposed to be fueling? What is it fueling when we attach to a person or a concept or an idea of ourselves or other people? Then it fuels the source of our happiness. That's why we attach to something. Because we believe that happiness is within things or people or times. For example, we believe that happiness is in the future. Very often. Well, first you need to somehow, life feels almost like trying to get there. And we're all mostly spending our mental effort and our energy on trying to figure out what's next. Or dwelling on what happened before, what happened earlier. And all that is to fuel or to keep alive or to bring about what we think will make us happy. So the majority of our thoughts is dedicated on trying to make sure to create happiness. And also on the other side, also of course to make sure that we don't suffer. So it fuels those things, attachment fuels those things which are supposed to make us happy. It keeps them alive. That's the function of attachment. Attaching to something, it means almost like the word, as the word suggests, is like a sticking function. We're sticking to something. We're depending on something. We're attaching to a thing outside of ourselves. Or attaching to a thought or an idea about ourselves or other people. We become sticky in that moment. And so that sense of me attaches to that thing. So that thing fuels my happiness. It nourishes and feeds my happiness. That's what attachment really is. Or clinging, holding fast onto something, holding onto something. Attaching or holding is kind of the same thing. And we all have things that are within ourselves that we're holding on to. We have things that are around us that we're holding on to. And all these things, they're supposed to make us happy and help us to get rid of suffering and stress and tension and all that. So attachment is a very, very dominant and important state that most of us are in constantly. And so then you hear a spiritual teaching about non-attachment or detaching, and then you try to detach or you try to be not attached. And without knowing it really, we attach to the idea of not attaching. Because then we think that this non-attachment then will make us happy. So we attach to non-attachment. And then become quite obsessed very often also with non-attachment. Just drop it, just let it go. Just leave it. Just don't suffer, just don't attach. And that's kind of futile. It's a very funny idea, actually, just not to attach. We can't just disengage. It's impossible, and it would be very unskillful to actually not attach all of a sudden. It's very often it's a counterfeit non-attachment. If it's the real deal, sure, it's great. If you're really not attached, fantastic. You're pretty much done. But if it's just attachment to non-attachment or attachment to detachment, then we could consider that a skillful attachment. There's two types of attachment, really. One is skillful, one is unskillful. You can attach to things that bring about happiness and well-being, both for yourself and others. And you can attach to things that bring about suffering and stress, both for yourself and others. A good example would be someone that attaches to consumption of narcotics or drugs, in the idea that these narcotics or drugs will provide them with what they're looking for. So there's this very strong attachment to a certain substance because we feel or experience that substance as a true source of happiness and well-being, when the opposite actually is the case. When it destroys your health, it destroys your social life and your relationships with other people, and it destroys your mental sanity very often as well. But we perceive these things as something that's really nice, that's really good, so we attach to them. And then when someone threatens to take away these things from us, we get really upset and angry. The same might be true for attaching unskillfully to a certain political idea. You can be very attached to your political idea, so you take it as a truth and as a righteous and true source of happiness. And so you try to impress your political idea upon everybody else because you think this is the real source of happiness, this is the truth, this is how it's supposed to be. So we go around and we try to make everyone follow our beliefs. We might also be very attached to spiritual ideas or opinions, religious views. And such attachment also then brings about all kinds of problems in this world. Without a doubt, if you look at human history, you can see very clearly that there's so many wars and so much misery just coming from attaching to religious views and opinions, which this is. It's opinions, it's views, it's beliefs, not facts. It's things that I consider to be true. And so attaching to these things, we do it because we believe that this will lead to happiness. If only everybody would believe what I believe in, the world would be a happy place. And just like the guy that consumes narcotics in the hope that it will make him happy, actually ruining himself, his health and so forth, in the same way the person that adheres or attaches to certain views creates a whole lot of trouble for other people. The more rigid we are in our attachment, the more problematic it becomes. Yeah. The more painful also. If we are very rigid in general, we can be easily broken. The more rigid we are, the less flexible we are. So attachment makes you rigid. Any form of attachment. It creates rigidity. It creates a certain stiffness in the being. A stickiness. All based on this very funny idea that there are things outside of yourself that are somehow able to make you happy or able to make you truly happy. In fact, what we are experiencing as happiness is nothing but attachment temporarily coming to an end. Like you, for example, you really want something, then you get what you want. There's a short moment of Now I have what I want. That's what we usually experience as happiness. But it's really not happiness. It's just the attaching coming to an end really quick. And then it starts right again. We crave for the next thing. We attach to the next thing. We cling to the next thing. And also, the more things we are attached to, the more we are enslaved to things. The more we are attached to ideas, viewpoints, opinions, the more we are enslaved to ideas, viewpoints, opinions, perceptions, and so forth. So what we attach to basically shapes us. The people we spend time with, they have influence on you. They shape you as a person. It is said that you are the average of the people that you spend time with. That's why it's really, really important to make sure that you're spending time with the right people. If you really want to be happy and at ease and relaxed, that is really important to spend time with people who have that as a skill set, who are happy, peaceful, and relaxed. If we hang out a lot with people who are depressed and follow all kinds of negative thoughts and ideas, then happiness will not be the result of hanging out with such people. It's impossible. Even if you think you're very strong, I'm very, very strong, it's not the case. You will take on the attributes of the people that you spend time with. That's for sure. That's like attachment. We take on the attributes of those things that we attach to. We become, you can say in a way, we become what we are attaching to. So that again it points to skillful attachment. It's really important who you hang out with, right? And this is a choice that you can make. Who to hang out with. Who to spend time with. What books to read. What news to consume. How to spend your time when you're online. These are all choices that you can make. And similarly, with our attachment, we can make a choice what to attach to. We can attach to things that lead to long-term benefit and happiness. The example I could give would be the man that is lost in the jungle. He wants to find his way out. And it's really tough because he's totally in the deep jungle somewhere in the Amazon jungle. It's this vast jungle. He doesn't know his way out. And one day he encounters this guy who knows the way out. And he says, well, I've painted all the trees on the way out, and all the trees that have this red painting on them, you just follow those trees and you will find your way out. So here the guy who wants to get out of the jungle then has to attach to that path. And it would be a wise decision if he actually wants to get out of the jungle. In a similar way, the person that is drowning, if there is a possibility of attaching to a boat, that is skillful attachment. You might be drowning and you go, I'm totally non-attached, but you're still drowning. In other words, you still suffer. So this is, the proof is in the pudding. Meaning, your spiritual practice shows you very clearly, are you still stressed? Are you still slightly tense in your mind, in your emotional being, or in your physical being? Is there still tension in you? If that is the case, you're still in the jungle. Now the question is, do you want to go beyond tension or not? And if you want to go beyond tension, then you want to attach to the boat that leads you there. That would be skillful attachment. We all know that attaching to waves would be an unskillful attachment. Trying to hold on to waves in the hope that it helps you not to drown. But that's what a drowning person really does. They try to hold the water and push themselves somehow up. by holding water. Obviously that's futile, it doesn't work. You can't hold on to the waves or the water so that you stay afloat. It only works maybe for a certain while before you get really tired and then drown anyways. But most people in the world, they hold on to waves. We hold on to things that are unreliable, that are not helping us to be happier, that very often even create more trouble for ourselves and other people. And so we should abandon holding on to things that provide no real help. And when I talk about help, then also mean you need to be very clear about this. What do you actually want? What do you really want? Why do we sit down and practice meditation or any spiritual discipline? We have to be quite honest there. What am I doing here? Why cross my legs? Why close my eyes? Why breathe deeply? Why relax the body? Why learn the technique? And then you might have your reasons. But bottom line is that we all do these things because we think that they will make us happier. Which is the case if you do practice well, if you practice meditation well. The result is more happiness, more ease, less suffering, less stress, less pain. So this is a path. Therefore, we can call this a path. It's a gradual path. It requires a certain steps. Now, some people, they enter a spiritual path, and then the spiritual path is very promising because it looks very easy, and all they say is just be aware. It's very popular nowadays. Just be aware. Just be. I mean, try just to be. You go into a room all by yourself and then you just be. And then very quickly it becomes quite obvious that we don't really know what that is, to just be. How am I supposed to just be? And then questions come in and thoughts come in. I can't just be for the rest of my life. I have to go to work. I have to also eat. I can't just be. And there's all these misconceptions and all these many, many ideas that need dealing with. Then you can say, no, I'm just aware of them. That is not enough. We are encouraged to actually skillfully deal with the issues at hand, not avoid them. Which for many people, this is. Just be aware is a form of spiritual bypassing. To just avoid dealing with the issues at hand, dealing with things that we really would need to deal with. And so, yeah, sure, I can put on this spiritual masquerade and I go like, yeah, just be aware. It's very simple. It's not that simple to just be aware. But in essence, yeah, that's that. Just be aware. Truly, in essence, that would be what realization looks like. Just be aware. Now, can you recognize awareness? Right now. Where is it? Where is awareness? Where can you find it? Is it something that you can find? All these questions, really important to ask ourselves. Here we are attaching to a skillful analysis, asking the right questions. And eventually, all these techniques, all the boats and all the vehicles that we attach to eventually lead to what the Buddha actually calls an island. And once you're on the island, yeah, okay, you don't need the boat anymore. You can put the boat down. you can stop carrying it around. You don't need the vehicle anymore. But first of all, we have to recognize that we are not starting on an island. We are starting in the middle of the ocean, often not even knowing which direction to swim in. Where will I find the boat? There's a lot of promises that other people who are drowning tell you. They say, well, over there is a boat, just keep swimming this direction. You'll find a boat there. And another one comes like, that's bullshit, you need to swim over there. That's where you can find the right boat. The only boat. There is just one boat. And it's my boat. And so forth. So there's a whole lot of offers, which makes it very often super confusing for spiritual adepts to actually try to get somewhere, to start swimming, really. So once you kind of decide to go with a certain technique, the very first part of the technique will be to find your boat. So you start meditating and you have faith and you just go for it and you practice a little bit and you start seeing a few little benefits. There is a boat on the horizon. You just keep swimming this way and you will arrive at the boat. That is very uplifting. At some point you reach the boat. Now then practice becomes very simple. Just stay in the boat. And you will fall out of the boat again. You get back into the boat. You fall out of the boat again. You get back in. For the first while. And you become more and more established on the boat, more and more attached to the boat. That is a good and skillful, wise attachment. Does it get you to the island? And again, then that's the next part. Once in the boat, you're much more safe. But you still need to paddle. You still need to do something. You need to move the boat into a certain direction, and you don't know in the beginning exactly which direction to move in. You need to attach to the direction, and you need to attach to the paddles. This is all attachment. We're attaching to methods. Until methods are no longer an issue, you don't need a method anymore. You don't need to attach to anything anymore. You just drop, you just let go, you just release. You come into presence, you let go of everything. You let go of thinking, you let go of attaching, you let go of all experiences that come into consciousness. Because you realize yourself as awareness or consciousness. So for you, you're basically feeling that you're already here. Now technique becomes gradually more and more simple, you see. Over time, technique becomes more and more simple, more and more direct. Where in the beginning it's more broad for most people. It's kind of like finding your way in and letting go of fear also. Letting go of attaching to fear. Many of us carry a lot of fear, a lot of tension of fear inside. The fear of, will this technique really work? Is this the right way? Am I not just wasting time? What does this experience mean? All that is fear. It wants to stay in control of things. So we have to surrender attaching to fear. Give up fear and cultivate instead maybe a more positive outlook. Attach to that. And if you've already figured it out, drop everything. Drop good and bad. Drop right and wrong. Drop views and ideas and opinions and perceptions. Drop it all. Drop your body, drop your mind. What's left if you drop it all? Then you will find the one who has been dropping it all. So in other words, you can say actually you found yourself. Because once you've dropped it all, you are still there. That's the great realization, isn't it? It's like, wow, even though I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm not an idea, I'm not a concept, I'm not a feeling, I'm still here. Just being here as emptiness. As nothing really. Not a thing, nothing that you can find as an object. Nothing that you can find before your eyes. Oh, what? There, I found myself. I'm over there. And it's all empty and space-like and all that. No, it's not. Empty and space-like is an appearance. Who does that emptiness and the space appear to? Again, drop the emptiness and the space. Don't get attached to it. Ooh, emptiness. Who is looking? Who is getting attached to it? In the most subtle form, this is what attachment does. It's the mind going out to an object, attaching to it. Awareness moving out in the form of attention to attach to stuff. Like, for example, the perception of the body. Awareness gets lost in the perception of the body, and it feels almost as if I was a body. I am a body sitting in a room. That is what attachment does. That's what clinging really does. It mixes the experience of awareness with objects. So the experience of awareness gets lost in an object to such a degree that you feel as if you were the object. It's almost like awareness takes on objects like a dress. So really detaching means finding out that you're not the dress, but you're the one wearing the dress. Like when you're sitting in a car, another example, you're not the car. You're not a BMW or a Honda Jazz or whatever. You're not a Honda Wave motorcycle. You're just riding it. And detachment here means to understand the difference between what you are riding and who you are. What you think you are and what you actually are. There's a difference. Who you feel you are and who you actually are. There's a difference because feelings appear to you. You are aware of feelings. So you want to see this difference again and again. This is true detachment. You see very, very clearly into an object. You understand that this is neither me nor is it mine. It is appearing. Then you drop it. And you drop it naturally. The dropping is not really something to do in my experience. It's not really anything that you need to construct or fabricate. Upon clearly comprehending, understanding something, it's dropped. In the old Vedic texts, the example is often given of seeing a snake on the path. You're walking on that path and it's dawn or dusk. And then you see a snake. And well, it's not really a snake, it's just a stick or it's a rope that lies there on the path. But as you have some distance to it, you don't really see that it's not a snake. So you get really scared. And then you wonder, how can I kill the snake? Right? How can I get rid of the snake? Maybe you're kind of a more kind person, you don't want to kill it, but you say like, how can I get rid of it? And you don't realize that whole thing about getting rid of a snake is stupidity, really. It's ignorance. We are unaware that there is no snake, really. That would be realization. And in order to find out whether there is a snake or not, what would you have to do? You'd have to get a bit closer, right? You have to take a good look. That's the whole point of doing meditation practice. And yep, in the beginning you might start off with techniques to approach the snake. Here you need to attach maybe to a sneaky walk. It might be unwise because it could be a snake. It might be unwise to just go there and say, I know it's not a snake, and go there and try. It might be one. And for the person that has the feeling that this is a snake, it's very real of an experience that there is a snake. So approach it like a snake. you have no choice but to. That means you're using the path of attachment. You're still attached to the idea that there's a snake. But the closer you get, the less you attach. Until you finally clearly realize that there is no snake, that's when the attachment to the idea of a snake drops. And with it, all the problems that come along with the perception of a snake. That would be equivalent to reaching the island with a boat. You clearly understood that the self that you think you are is but an idea, is just a thought, just a label in our heads. There, in actual fact, there is nothing that is really me or mine. That's the end of the snake. By realizing that the snake that we thought there was, in other words, me or I, has never really been there. And then everything drops, everything collapses. That is pertaining to this sense of me or mine or I. Then the one that's stressed, the one that's worried, the one that's fearful, the one that's looking forward is gone. What's left? So approaching this insight requires attaching the skillful means. Do your meditation practice regularly, study, contemplate. After hearing those teachings, keep them in mind, attach to them, think about them. How do they apply to you? What did they trigger in you? What kind of understanding came up in today's session? And how can you deepen that? And how can you spend your life so that you're not disturbed or you're not disturbing others with your presence, so you have time to go deeper into the path? All that requires skillful attachment. Attach to your meditation practice. Attach to what is good. And let go of what's unskillful. Like you would let go of poisoned food as soon as you realize that it's poisoned. You don't even have to think about it twice, because you understand, oh, if I eat that food, I'll end up with food poisoning. That's detachment. It's as simple as that. Detachment arises in the moment of comprehension, in the moment of understanding. Ah, poisoned food. Now you don't have to force yourself to detach from it, right? It's not like, I need to detach from that good food because I'm all spiritual and I shouldn't eat. That's like really, really ridiculous. That's not actually spiritual practice. This is just pretense. We're not really engaging in spiritual practice. But look until you really understand. Smell the food. Smells rotten. I don't really want to eat it anymore. It looked good in the beginning, but now I took a whiff and I see, wow, it smells really rotten. Something's wrong with it. Then you take a little taste with your tongue and you notice directly, wow, that's off. So that's skillfully detaching from it, because you know the outcome of it. We invest so much time and effort and energy and stuff that doesn't work in making us happy. It's staggering. So this really points to the need of letting go of the inessential stuff that just keeps you busy. And there's lots of it. There's lots of things that just are supposed to keep us busy. It gets you nowhere in life. So let it go. Detach from that. Detach to things that really make you happy, properly. Okay, so that's pretty much all that comes to mind for today. Any questions?